Welcome back to FryMinis. I'm Julie, and today in our Monsters of the Multiverse coverage, we're talking about Firbolgs. I love Firbolgs. And yes, I say Firbolgs, not Firbolgs. I don't want to debate it. That's just what it's going to be for this video. So great! I love Firbolgs. And if you watched my video about my character creation process, you learned a little bit about the cleric Firbolg that I played named Sparkles. I chose Sparkles as who she was and why she was a Firbolg, mostly because I think their little pink noses are the cutest thing in the entire world. And while I don't cosplay my character often, we do make a point in our homebrew sessions at least once per campaign to dress up as our characters. And I was just super excited to put a bunch of pink lipstick on my nose and be adorable. You may have also seen me in Firbolg drag while we were doing one of our unboxing videos earlier in our FryMinis history. You'll see that picture popping up now and again, but I really only did it once. That said, I love Firbolgs. I love that they've got soft, round features, their pink noses, and their sweet, floppy little ears. I love that they've got that kind of connection to nature without inherently being crunchy. They're not required to be a druid that's just covered in leaves and speaks to animals, although they can, and we'll get into that a little bit with these updates. But I just love them and think they're delightful, and I hope that if you're here, you love them too. This book's aim is to give each of the races a more compact, streamlined lore so that it's easier to fit into your game. Let's take a look. Distant cousins of giants, the first Firbolgs wandered the primeval forests of the multiverse, and the magic of those forests entwined itself with a Firbolg's souls. Centuries later, that magic still thrums inside a Firbolg, even one who has never lived under the boughs of a great forest. A Firbolg's magic is an obscuring sort, which allowed their ancestors to pass through a forest without disturbing it. So deep is the connection between a Firbolg and the wild places of the world that they can communicate with flora and fauna. Firbolgs can live up to 500 glorious years. Yeah, I think this lore is exciting and aligns with kind of how I played mine anyway. So while they might be in tune with nature or able to understand it, as I said, I like that they don't have to just be covered in leaves and afraid of city life and really dig into those kind of early stereotypes of maybe your first druid that you ever played or the first druid some first-time player ever played at your table. I think it's got a great background to it, but it's not too tight. You're not stuck with one particular anything. You don't have to be covered in moss like a sloth who moves too slowly, although they are kind of cute too. The point is, I think this offers great flexibility while also not necessitating that you live in a forest. That part about never having been covered by the boughs of the trees is really helpful. Looking at some of the general traits, Firbolgs use the same template. Ability scores are +2 and +1 or +1 to 3 abilities. We get common and one other language. Typical height and weight, but we do get a special 500-year lifespan. All right, let's look at some of the Firbolg traits. Okay, you're a medium humanoid with 30 feet of movement speed. Sure, nothing special. Let's get to the fun stuff. Firbolg magic. You can cast the Detect Magic and Disguise Self spells with this trait. When you use this version of Disguise Self, you can seem up to 3 feet shorter or taller. Once you cast either of these spells with this trait, you can't cast that spell with it again until you finish a long rest. You can also cast these spells using any spell slots you have. Intelligence, Wisdom, or Charisma is your spellcasting ability for these spells when you cast them with this trait. Choose when you select this race. These spells are especially helpful because in my last campaign, there were 3 players and 2 of us were Firbolgs. And I don't love to play a race that's different or everywhere you go people stare at you, and our DM did a great job at making sure Firbolgs were never weird or bizarre or triggering, immediate hostile actions from the NPCs that we encountered. At the same time, being able to disguise yourself as human and just be easy in an interaction with that 3 foot taller or shorter option is really great and always something nice to have. And choosing this spellcasting ability is excellent. That means no matter what class you're playing, you have options to not, waste this incredible racial feat that you have. These changes took a really good feature and made it even stronger, but without making it too powerful, as far as I'm concerned. I think this was a great update. Hidden Step. As a bonus action, you can magically turn invisible until the start of your next turn or until you attack, make a damage roll, or force someone to make a saving throw. You can use this trait a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. Okay, this is wild. Especially as a cleric in a small party, when I was playing a Firbolg, it was so useful to have hidden steps so that I could run away from something terrible happening on the battlefield and get to the people I needed to be able to touch to heal them. This is awesome that it's now not just once per short or long rest, but that it's the number of times of your proficiency bonus. This is an amazing update and I'm super excited about it. Disengaging, moving around undetected, and being able to get out from an opportunity attack without wasting your action is all fantastic. Being able to cast Hidden Step and then run around the battlefield, get away, use the dash action are all fantastic. This is an excellent use, especially for healing. Super utilitarian. Not to mention being able to go invisible for pickpocketing or other things you might need to do. Pretty fun. There are a lot of ways to use this for some fun shenanigans. Powerful build. You count as one size larger when determining your carrying capacity and the weight you can push, drag, or lift. So when I play D&D, I generally play taller characters. I haven't yet played a gnome or a halfling or a dwarf or anything like that. I'm not a short person. I'm 5'6", and that's a pretty average, if not above average height for a woman. But I just, I'm the shortest person in my family, so I'd like to be a little bit taller. So for me, playing things like a Goliath or a Firbolg and getting to count as one size larger and already be like 7 feet tall, the best. That's all for me personally. Those are things that I like about this benefit. Another change, carrying capacity hopefully doesn't always bog you down. In my campaigns, it usually bogs me down just with the gold that I have, not to brag, but I don't spend my gold very often, and my DMs, especially in homebrew, are pretty generous. So being able to have that added carrying capacity, being a big, strong, husky Firbolg, I think is great. Hopefully it's not a game changer. I don't think it's going to break anything or make anything even, but I think it's a nice perk. Speech of Beast and Leaf. You have the ability to communicate in a limited manner with beasts, plants, and vegetation. They can understand the meaning of your words, though you have no special ability to understand them in return. You have advantage on all charisma checks you make to influence them. This is another one that really varies with your campaign. My last Firbolg was a city dweller who had never lived in the forest, and as we know from the lore in this book, that doesn't matter. She doesn't have to come from the swamps, which is where the other Firbolg in our party lived. The point is, I'm not totally sure how plants and vegetation are different here, so while communicating with plants and vegetation is new in this lore, I'm not totally sure. Does that mean that I could communicate with a single tree and also all of the grass? Is that different? I don't totally get it, but however you and your DM are able to flavor this and make it work for your campaign, I think is fantastic. It adds a lot more flexibility and a little bit more intriguing and kind of opportunities for creative usage. Best case, an Underdark campaign where you've got permanent advantage on all of your charisma checks against the myconids surrounding you. Hooray for you and a mushroom fan club. All right, so that's the Firbolg in the new Monsters of the Multiverse. Does it change a lot? No, not a lot, but a couple new things. You used to be able to speak 3 languages, Common, Giant, and Elvish, but now you're losing Giant inherently. You're just getting Common and one other language, so that's a little bit of a bummer. That said, you can regain languages with feats or something you and your DM can work out as it is relevant to your character, so I don't really think that's the end of the world. The carrying capacity is different. Fine, sure, why not? Being able to speak with plants and vegetation, again, I don't know how to use it, but that doesn't mean anything bad. The additional uses of Hidden Steps so that it's with your proficiency bonus instead of once per short or long rest, fantastic. That's a great update to this. Again, without overpowering it or breaking the game or anything like that, just some nice kind of give and take tweaks and updates to the Firbolg. Honestly though, no matter what, I'm going to keep playing Firbolgs when I get the chance because they're the cutest. Their little pink noses are the best. And again, their soft floppy ears make me really happy. So like so much in Dungeons & Dragons, you can be a different race and really maximize kind of the build of your character, but that's not what we're all about here at FryMinis. So there's some good updates here, nothing make or break, but it's nice to have a little bit more about the Firbolgs and a little bit of an update just because. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Julie. I hope you'll like, subscribe, follow us, become a patron, all those exciting things. We'd love to have you around on our Discord. That's discord.gg/FryMinis. We can talk about Firbolgs or my very favorite thing in the world, Vanderhobbs. Thanks so much. See you for the next one.